This is the Things I Should Have Said assignment for Sociology 100. I will be talking about stereotypes and selective perception. The incident I witnessed happened while I was in the Army, and most of the people involved were good friends of mine, so I'm going to be using different names for them for that reason. We had this soldier, I'm going to call Bobblehead. He was a terrible soldier. That's all I can say. Anything you could possibly screw up, he did multiple times. He ended up getting, I think, 3 DUIs in the course of 6 months. He failed probably 5, 10 drug tests. He got arrested. He smoked weed while in the barracks. He tried to get into a fight with anyone who he possibly could. That's all I can say. He was terrible. And one day at the smoke pit, a friend and my friend X and I were hanging out, just complaining about work like always. And he brought up Bobblehead and said, all these fucking one thing about I don't really know what else to say. I was sitting there just astonished. Like, I'd known X for probably 2 years at the time, and he was a good guy. He's a pretty good friend of mine, and he didn't, he never had any problems with anyone in the platoon, and he was a good guy. And just to hear him use, this word, I didn't really know how to react. And because this is a guy I work with and I see him, 15 hours out of the day, I didn't really say anything. I didn't know what to say, and I didn't really want to have a problem with the guy that I have to work with and see from 5 a.m. to 5 p.m. every day. That just didn't seem beneficial to anyone. But I did, when he said that Bobblehead was I said, well, what do you mean? And he goes on to explain that, because Bobblehead is, and he, shows certain traits of African Americans that he is therefore this word. And I said, well, what about like Legs, who was our squad leader at the time? He was also black, phenomenal soldier, phenomenal person. He was like the old breed. He was a guy that, he would watch your back no matter what. He was, to this day, one of the best squad leaders I'd ever had. And my friend X said, oh, well, that's different because blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, well, what about, Maverick or Goose, both who are also black? And he said, oh, well, that's different because reasons. And I was like, okay, if you say so, man. I wish I would have called him out on it. I just didn't seem like a good idea to get into an argument with this guy that I have to work with. And I wish I would have. I wish I would have called him an idiot and, saying, because Bobblehead is black, like, he would look at Bobblehead and be like, okay, well, he's black and he's a bad soldier, so therefore he's, yeah. And when I countered that by saying, oh, well, all of these other good soldiers that are also black, he said, oh, that's different. They're not, they're just black. I didn't know what to say. And that is an example of stereotyping, which is a generalization about someone because of their race, but also selective perception because Bobblehead, was an idiot, and he is, but he's also black, that justifies this. Whereas Legs or Maverick or Goose or anyone else that were good soldiers and also black, that didn't apply to them because they weren't. So I don't know. That's his logic, I guess. It's weird because most people from smaller towns or from the South or whatever, who might be a little racist coming into the Army, they realize when they get exposed to multiple different types of people from different backgrounds and ethnicities and, you know, regions of the country, which is kind of what the Army is known for, they realize that any preconceived notions they had about those kind of people were completely unfounded and wrong. You know, and that's one thing I think is really beneficial about the Army is everyone kind of comes together. And yeah, you will always have people like Bobblehead, but that, you know, you can't look at that like, oh, he's, you know, he's a bad soldier because he's black, or that constitutes, you know, referring to him as this word. It's an individualized thing. He was an idiot. He was a terrible soldier. That has nothing to do with his race or his background. And that's my opinion on the matter. And I really, to this day, I wish I would have said something more confrontational to him about it. So that's my story.